you told me not to overreact about the Yankees, so I'm assuming
You're bad karma for the Yankees, you understand? You are negative karma for the Yankees. I don't think you should be a real Yankee fan. Yeah.
What I'm saying is I don't think you're going to overreact about your rookie kicker either. What do you think of the camp Anders has had, and how do you have to exercise patience? Especially Brian has said you knew there were probably going to be some ups and downs.
Yeah, and again, I think the first starts off with Brian and I are on the same page, obviously when we made this decision. And I think age and wisdom to some degree allows you to have patience, especially with this position, with the specialist position. So he's exhibited, a lot of the things that we thought he was in a lot of the positive ways, and there's always going to be things to clean up. So I think we're excited about what tomorrow will bring, and hopefully we can play well in the game and evaluate the things that are good and keep getting better, and evaluate things that we need to work on and hopefully get better in that direction as well. But I think patience comes a little bit with age and to some degree wisdom, and believing in the character of who the man is, and I think we strongly believe in that with Honors.
Tyler Davis gave you a lot in a lot of different kind of...
I'm sorry, just speak up.
Sorry. Tyler Davis gave you a lot in a lot of different units. Do you have to replace him in the aggregate, basically? Now
I feel like to some degree we lost our right hand. He was an exceptional special teams player, someone that you could count on in every critical situation, count on to play multiple positions. He's a big body guy that can really run. He was a double-digit tackler a year ago. So I'm really haven't gotten very comfortable with not having, Tyler Davis to this point. It's cost me some personal trepidation because of who he is and how much he puts into it and how important it is to him, and how he feels about the Green Bay Packers and being a part of this. So losing him is it's a big blow to our unit. I think it's a blow to our team, and I'm expecting him to work hard, which I know he will, and hopefully be back in the future. But to your question, I'm not really sure how we're going to do it yet. We have some big body guys that we're trying to move and put in his role, but I don't know if we have a guy yet. We'll see, that can play all four phases at the level that he played. It might take two guys to do it. We'll see how it works out.
You talked about big body guys. Austin Allen at 6'8", there's not a lot of guys on a football field that have his kind of height. How can you utilize a guy that goes 6'8"?
Yeah, Austin's done some good things for us, rushing the punter. He's played field goal protection for us on the wing. It makes us a little bit expanded at that position. And then he's done some good things in kickoff return, and he'll play a lot, hopefully, in the kicking game come tomorrow. So we'll see how that goes. And there's always the element of they have to be, proficient at their position as well. And that's why at the end of all these preseason we get together and collectively try to pick the best 53.
Back to Carlson. He's talked to us a few times after some of those rough days, and he seems really steady. It's like he's not fazed by any of it, and he kind of knows what's going wrong. Is that like the biggest thing about a kicker, or like one of the most important assets, is that ability to kind of withstand, whatever crap is thrown at him?
Yeah, I think those positions that are all alone, right? The pitchers in baseball, the quarterback in football, the kicker in football, the return guy to some degree, they're out there by themselves. I think the mental makeup of most players, but certainly those all alone players, is it's important to them, right? How to come back from a bad play, the cycle of a play, the cycle of a kick. I think how you come back from that is important. To be your best regardless of the circumstance, that's a sign of mental toughness to some degree. And again, I'll go back to his makeup. Has a lot to do with why we drafted him and why we like him and why we feel like the future is going to be bright for him.
Rich, did his brother, who's with the Raiders, and your experience with him, does that play into some of what's going on right now with him?
Well, I think so. I think along with other kickers that I've had, I've been through the ups and downs with Martin Gramatica and the ups and downs of Dan Bailey and Nate Keating and Nick Novak. And, if you want to talk about, Daniel came in after he had the trouble in Minnesota, took 2 weeks, and then we got him with the Raiders, and he had most prolific year as a rookie. I think he was 94% or 92%. The next year, I think we were in the 70s. Wasn't a very good year, but again, stayed patient, corrected some things, and then he's gone on to consistently play well. So I think it's, again, part of the position to some degree to have a sense of patience if you feel like the mechanics are all there and the mental makeup is there to keep improving. And I think that's where we are right now with Honors.
What barometer do you use? I don't know if it's different for a kicker compared to another position, but what barometer do you use to know when it's time to give that patience and when it's time to move on? How do you judge?
You know, I'm just really concentrating on where we're at. You know, I'm not really thinking about what's going to happen too far down the road. I just think we're trying to get a little bit better today, and then certainly we'll see what happens in the game tomorrow. So I don't think we've really talked about what's going to happen 6 weeks from now. We're trying to deal with practice today and the game that's coming up.
Rich, we know what you have in Pat. What do you thought of Waylon so far?
Yeah, we think it's been a really good competition, you know, between the both of them. I said they both have their strengths, and it's for Waylon, it's new. You know, obviously his football awareness is increasing all the time, but he's had some good days, and he's had some days where he didn't get the hang, I think, that he quite expects, and so I think we'll look forward to how he plays here in the next 2 games. I thought he had a good series the other day in New England practice, and we didn't really get a chance to finish Pat's yesterday. So, but I think it's been a good competition. I think he's learning a lot from being around Pat, and I think his holding has gotten better as well by getting the repetitions that he's getting in practice.
Rich, do you anticipate doing kickoffs with him again?
We do. We anticipate using them both in the game.
With Tariq Carpenter, he was telling us a story a little while ago about how you visited him during the offseason. Do you do that frequently with guys? And if not, why did you go visit him? Why was it important to you to go see him?
You know, it's been done around the league with many different coaches and many different places. But I think for us here organizationally, we have investment in Tyreek and who he is and the player we think he can become, especially as a teams player. So I just wanted to get to know about him a little bit. I wanted to see what his routine was going to be in the off season for his workouts and how he can improve nutritionally, how he can improve with his physical conditioning, and just, you know, for my personal feeling, get a bead for who he is a little bit to see if I could help him improve and help us all put him certainly on a path to have some success. So I don't think it's that uncommon. I was going to a pro day at Auburn the next day, so I just kind of went out a day early and had a chance to spend some time with him and get a bite to eat and have a chance to visit with him a little bit, get to know a little bit more about him.
He was really successful for you, like the last 6 games or whatever it was last year for you. What did you learn about him during that trip?
I think he was successful for us, first of all. And, you know, on the trip, I got a chance to see kind of where he came from and you know, how his routine was in the off season and how we could maybe help him correct that a little bit with his workouts and his nutrition and some of those things. So we're a big fan of his, all of us, I think. And certainly his skills play to the point of being a tremendous coverage player. I think we're trying to all get him going in the right direction defensively as well to find some things that he can do to help us win. So,
what do you think Jaden Reed can bring you on teams?
I'm sorry, say it again.
What do you think Jaden Reed can bring you on teams?
Well, certainly he has return value, you know, for us in the kicking game. We thought he was really good at it coming out of college, and he hasn't disappointed to this point for us in the game. Now, we kind of directed him a little bit to work fair catches in last week's game, and but he certainly can do both. You know, he certainly made an impact offensively for us a little bit here early, and we'll expect him to have a chance to be a return guy for us as well.
Does it help having a guy like Keyshawn to learn from for him?
Yeah, well, I think they're totally two different, you know, people, and certainly Keyshawn is a little bit more fly by the seat of your pants guy who didn't do a lot of it in college. And, you know, Jay has done a lot of it in college. It was a lot of what we liked about him was the ability to return both. Certainly his expertise to some degree in the punt return game, and so I think they're kind of feeding off each other a little bit in practice.
Right here. With that in mind, Keyshawn was telling me the other day that, like, kick return, the key to it is more about instinct than anything, that you can't think about it too much. Is that something that just works for him, or do you want all of the guys to kind of get to where it's just instinctual and they're not overthinking it?
Well, anytime you can be and use your instincts, right? If you know what to do, you should be able to play fast. And the responsibility of the kick return guy, to some degree, there's a lot of setup element to it. We talk about bringing a lot of the blocks to you, and then after that, you have to know how it's being blocked and then where you're going, hopefully on a one-cut break. I think those guys that get to be really good at punt returners, I think you saw, if you look at Jay's one return last week, he had this, what we call natural pause to him. He just kind of caught it, and then he took off. And I think Keyshawn's starting to get a little bit more of that, whereas in the kick return game, Keyshawn can get it and go, and then make the one break after that. I think punt return's a little bit different. You want to have a little bit more patience there to kind of set up the return. So, again, if that's how Keyshawn feels, I'm good with it, you know. So I like him playing to his instincts.
Rich, it seems like Keyshawn's in line for maybe a bigger role on defense this year. How much does that affect you on special teams?
Yeah, good question. I think for a couple guys, right, that we've had that were special teams contributors a year ago, I think if they become the starter or if they get into the 45 to 50 play range on defense or on offense, we can manage that. You know, a lot of times those starters end up playing on two phases for us and helping us there. Depends on whether you're on the offensive unit or a defensive unit, which units we'll try to use you on. But I think we're kind of waiting to see what the role for some of these guys are going to be on their offensive or defensive unit, and then we'll figure out where and when we can play them in the kicking game to help us.
Hey, Rich, you've coached in this league a really long time, so you've seen how preseason once was probably early in your career versus now. You guys have a lot of young guys. Goody was just talking to us about the importance of getting those guys playing time despite the risks of preseason. How have you kind of seen the change between weighing risk versus reward of playing guys in the preseason, but also needing to be careful and not wanting to lose them in games that don't come?
Yeah, another good question. Obviously, and we've had lots of conversations about it, you know, and I think sometimes you're deciding, are you going to, you know, play to your fears or play to your hopes, you know, and those sort of things. I think the one thing we do here is when we're in pads, we have pretty physical practices, and we have a chance to evaluate them that way as well. And I think, you know, you can talk to Coach LaFleur about his thoughts on some of the offensive and defensive things. But for us, if there's some guys I kind of know what they can do, I'm trying to figure out what their responsibilities in the particular game are going to be on defense or offense, how much they're going to play, to how much we're going to play them. But I think Brian is right. The young guys need to play in a game to feel the speed of a kickoff or a kickoff return and how fast they're going to come now on the punt rush and some of those things. So it is a risk-reward type business, whether you're playing 4 preseason games or 3 preseason games. I think the one thing that's helped us maybe in the league is we haven't had a lot of back-to-back full padded practices like we used to, and then still play a preseason game. So, you know, I think we're having constant conversation about how long some of these guys are going to play, especially now coming off of the 2-day practice.
Regarding the skirmishes yesterday during practice, what was your message to the guys afterward when that period ended like 3.5 minutes early?
Yeah, I think the biggest disappointment was we didn't get a chance to get our reps on tape, and that eliminates, I think we only got 2 plays in, so that eliminated 4 graded reps for our guys, you know. So you don't ever want to see those sort of things, you know, in a practice, and I've been around long enough to say that it happens. I get it, but I think the disappointing thing is it cost us some reps, some graded reps on our punt team, and the rest of it is, you know, I'll just kind of leave it at that. So.